I'm here with Hayley Campbell, who is a copywriter, a mental health advocate, and also a dance fitness instructor. And she's got a very powerful story to share with us today. And I'm very blessed and thankful that she's here wanting to share this. It's an important message that I think, there is a lot of talks about it, but I think we're still at a long way to go. And the more we share real people's story around mental health and how we can really reduce the stigma and go about this in a different way, the more we can feel that we are well equipped to move forward in a different way. Hi, Hayley, how are you?
Hi, Angelica. I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm just going to get straight into it. So tell us a little bit more about, where you were when you kind of realized that, things were not, going well for you in kind of in the mental health space.
Yeah, great question. And I guess my journey with mental health was kind of a little bit unconventional in that when I first had my experience of a panic attack, I was actually traveling around Bali. So, a lot of people who think, you're traveling, you're having the best time ever. And yeah, you don't expect to have a mental health episode when you're away and you're living your best life, right? But for me, that's exactly what happened. So I'd gone traveling and I was probably into week 2 of my holiday. And yeah, I just sat down having dinner with my husband, and all of a sudden I stood up and just like my legs felt like jelly. My heart was racing. I didn't know what was going on. And at that point, I genuinely felt like I was dying. It was horrible. I would never want anyone to experience what I was going through. So yeah, that's kind of the starting point of my story. And yeah, it just kind of spiraled.
So you were just like really taking a break from your normal life and going on a 2 weeks holiday kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then that was the absolutely first time that you felt like that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. First time I've ever experienced that. And I did not believe at that point that it was mental health. I didn't really have a journey with mental health, none of my family. It never really been spoken about with friends, or it was just not even in my realm of what I knew and what I'd ever even heard about. So at that point, I thought there was something physically wrong with me. I thought medically there is something going on. So obviously that was just heightening my anxiety and heightening everything that I was thinking and feeling. And yeah, me and my partner we weren't even in Bali. We were actually on a remote island off Bali. So we actually had to go and get transported via a small boat to the mainland of Bali, where I spent the night in hospital. And they thought that maybe it was alcohol poisoning. So I suppose that's what we put it down to. But then throughout that holiday, it kept happening. I kept experiencing the same kind of feelings and thoughts. To that point, we were kind of doing research and thinking, oh, it could be this, it could be that. But yeah, throughout the whole holiday, we went to Japan, and it was, the same thing going on. The more that I tried to hide it, the worse that it then became. And
before that, you kind of were not like considered an anxious person, or there was nothing kind of
not at all.
I think what's incredible is that and I would always say this to my clients, is never lie. The body can't lie, and we might go through life thinking that we are very clever and we suppress our emotions and we suppress our stress and keep hiding things. But at some point the body is going to scream at you and say stop. I am no longer going to go forward, right? And it sounds like kind of the thing that happened.
Exactly right. And I think that's the thing, right? Like when you're traveling, you have the time and space to reflect. And the stress does kind of catch up with you in those moments. Whereas obviously when you're busy in life, I might have been feeling those things, but I might have just suppressed it and not have actually lived in it. Whereas I suppose in Bali, I didn't really have anything going on. I left my job at that point. I was traveling. So yeah, all this kind of stress and thoughts must have been catching up with me. And yeah,
And then, yeah. So then what happened, like when you came back from was it a long trip, or was it like planned to be like 6
So
months
that
or
was
just
about
a holiday?
about 2.5 weeks we were away for, and then we went back to England for a month. So I'm originally from England, so we went back to England for Christmas and the holidays, and that's when I started to seek medical support, because I kept going back to doctors again, thinking that there was something physically wrong with me. So I was so worried that there was something going on. So I just kept getting all these tests, repeat tests, and we lived those few weeks in hospitals and doctors just asking someone to help me and just saying I don't feel okay. And that's when they kind of said, look, it could be a mental health, it could be a mental illness. And that's when they kind of, spoke to me a bit more about anxiety. And then I got referred on to go and see a psychologist at that point. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's kind of when.
So with the physical feelings, like what, so, I know that the anxiety attack is kind of the heighten of it, but what were you feeling? Was it tightened chest, or what was the actual feelings?
Yeah, it was really strange. So it would kind of fluctuate between different really intense feelings. So the panic attacks were pretty much the same along in terms of like you would just feel this sense of like doom, like something bad was happening and then you just couldn't stop it. Like sometimes I would feel faint, and just like my heart was just gonna stop at any moment. But in terms of the actual day-to-day anxiety, sometimes it would be I would get really bad headaches, that would just like take over my whole day. It just wouldn't be able to not think about it because I would just be feeling these intense headaches. Then at some points it would be like really bad stomach aches, and sometimes I'd be fine, and then all of a sudden I just have this weird feeling in my heart. It was,
and of
really,
course they were all different.
They were all different. Yeah, it was.
And
all
also,
different.
like you did not. It wasn't something that you felt before. Like you were not somebody who had headaches all the time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think the scariest thing was then I was so fixated on these issues that then I would turn to Dr. Google and be like, okay, so I've got this headache, I've got this, and then I would obviously diagnose myself with loads of physical issues, because I think at that point, before I then went to speak to a psychologist, I was so fixated on something physically being wrong with me. So then that was just taking my whole life, I was like, something is definitely wrong with me and no one's helping me. So yeah, it kind of formed this like health anxiety. Like I just couldn't get over it for a while.
So when they kind of told you for the first time, I think this could be a mental health issue, like what was your first kind of reaction to it?
Yeah, I don't think I believed it at that point, because I was like, again, I was like, I'm not an anxious person. I've never had these thoughts and feelings. It's not something that I've ever experienced. And at that point, I was still very much in that stigma myself of like, there's the mental illness looks like, and that's not me. And then the more that I started to learn about it and speak to other people about it, the more that I realized how common it is and how many people have anxiety, and how many people are for it. And that just instantly made me feel heard and seen, like I wasn't the only one who was going through it, and that it is something that everyone can, like anyone can experience, and you don't have to be a certain type of person, or you don't have to be going through big life changes or anything. It can anyone at any point in your life. So
so did that happen like when you started going to the psychologist, or did you go to groups as well to understand more about what other people were going through as well? How did you go about it?
So first of all, it was just the one-to-one sessions with the psychologist, to which we
Mm-hmm.
uncovered loads of different things that were going on in my life. And that just really helped. And like my thought patterns as well. Like she was really good at understanding the way that I think
Yeah.
about things, and you know, obviously how I went from going, I've got a headache, this instantly means this.
Yeah.
And that's because of the anxious thoughts, and it's like this circle basically
Mm-hmm.
of you thinking always the worst thing is going to happen to you
Yeah.
without actually thinking about it logically. You're thinking about it with that
Logic.
around
Yeah. Yeah.
that. So yeah, it was kind of understanding those thought patterns and understanding where to pinpoint when that happens, and if there was
Yes.
any triggers.
Recognizing, right?
Yeah, and if there was
Yeah.
any triggers or anything, to kind of stop and reassess, you know, before taking that thought any further.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but at that point as well, I was also going through another journey in terms of health issues. So I'd lost a lot of weight over a couple of years, and I was diagnosed with a kind of borderline eating disorder at that point as well. So yeah, I was going through two different journeys in terms of anxiety and then my eating disorder as well. So
So
yeah.
um, which one kind of came first? Was it the anxiety and then you started losing the weight? Because I know they can be related, right? Like the eating disorder could be just a coping mechanism as well of how you can control things, right? Like,
Yeah, so it actually, so as I say, my story kind of started in that trip in Bali, but it didn't. It was
yeah,
way before then.
okay.
But obviously, like I say, I just suppressed everything that was going on. And I think for me, the problems with my eating definitely started first. That
Okay.
started as soon as I kind of graduated from university. So I was 21 at that point. And that's when I got really fixated on health and wellness, which, you know, is a good thing.
Hmm.
But I definitely took that too far with my perfectionism. And yeah, that then manifested into something really quite dark. But again, I didn't know about it at the time. I thought what I was doing was really good for me. And yeah, I didn't
Uh-huh.
realize the mindset that was going on behind everything that I was doing. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just
That's a
ignored.
big thing these days. Like,
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
this the whole, I mean, you were a lot younger than me, and when I was 21, I didn't live through like this media, like the health and wellness promotion, into kind of, the pictures on social media and all of that, the perfectionism of, and the unrealistic images that people put on social media. And then of course there is this trend of young people trying to follow that to the detriment of their own health. For me, it wasn't. When I was 21, that didn't existed. So, can you talk a little bit about, if you're comfortable with, like, what did it trigger you, like, to take that journey to a dark thing? Was it the social media thing, or was it just you trying to be perfect? What is the thing that trigger?
I think there was a few different factors for me that led to
Uh
that.
huh.
So definitely social media at that point. Working in marketing, I obviously love social media platforms, and
Yeah.
Instagram was taking off at that point. And yeah, I would definitely follow people because I love learning as well. So obviously I just finished my
Yeah.
degree, and I was going through a bit of a struggle in terms of finding a job straight out of my degree. So there was a bit of a journey going on there. And then I got into going to the gym and, you know, keeping my mind busy from what was going on in terms of being stressed about finding a job. Um, and yeah, and social media at that point was definitely something that I was looking at quite a lot. I was
Yeah.
researching, you know, healthy meals and things like that. So yeah, it definitely, I think, triggered some things in me that I didn't know. But yeah, I think the perfectionism in me as well just kind of went down this route of, oh, I'm really enjoying this. Let's keep it going. And yeah, just kind of took it a little bit too far in terms of I didn't realize the impacts that it was having on my own health and well-being as well. So yeah, and like I say, it wasn't
the perfectionism is a really the perfectionism is really interesting you bring that up, because I think that, you know, before cancer I would hold this as like a badge of honor, and now I just think that that's just a terrible thing to hold on to, because when you're trying to be perfect, you're trying to hold yourself up to unrealistic standards, that because you know nobody's perfect, right? And they can drive you to doing things that are harming your health. You know, for me, it was very much, you know, just working too hard and just becoming, you know, having this tendency to be a workaholic, you know, and this is still something that, you know, some days I have to remind myself, you know, this is time to stop, you know, time to shut your computer down, and it's time to, you know, to finish for the day, because you know it's almost like the underlying habit, it is still there, kind of there. So it's just understanding the trigger and going like, what are you doing this, you know, again for, you know, like what are you trying to prove, you know, are you just going down that crazy route again, right? And we attach ourselves with something, you know, and it sounds like, you know, I did to work and you did to the health thing, you know, I've just got to
and I think it's so important, and I think what you said there is like understanding yourself, like what's going on, because as much as people around you might say something, like a lot of obviously my friends and family were very concerned about me and were saying, you know, we're worried about you, this is happening, we can see this. Until I saw it myself, there was no way that I was gonna get the help that I needed and take that extra step, because sometimes you need to see it yourself to make that change. And I think, as you know, like we need the people around us to support us, absolutely, and we need the people around us to tell us, but it is that switch within ourselves to go, hang on a second, this is not good for me and I need to change this, and that's the pivotal moment where you can change and you can make the right choices again.
I think that's so powerful what you've said there, because with clients for the last 3 years, I realized that people who want to change, they change. You know, and it is, you know, and it's not about, you know, blame yourself. Why did I do this? It's just about going, okay, you know, this is not going well in my life, and I just need to do something about this. And like I said, by all means, if you have the people to support you, that's great, and that's awesome. But the work needs to be done by you, right? And it sounds like you've made that decision on, you know, at some point you went like, that's it, I can't keep going like this.
For sure. And definitely the support that I got in terms of like the health professionals that I've seen over the years have also been detrimental to my journey, in terms of just having them alongside me as well, with their expertise and knowledge, and really putting their foot down and be like, you can't carry on this way, Hayley, like, you know, and being honest and not hiding away from telling me how it is. And I definitely respect that, because health professionals are definitely the people that we lean on the most when we're going through such a tough time. So they're definitely people who I say people to go and see as well, because they know what they're talking about and how to help you in the right way as well.
So when you were dealing with your eating issue, you didn't see a psychologist then? It wasn't until actually it wasn't until you had the panic attacks that you... Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so what happened with the kind of eating stuff was, so it was before the Bali trip. Me and my partner were traveling around Australia at this point in a camper van, and I just continued to lose weight during that time, and
Okay.
That's when, you know, my family were calling me from England and saying, hey, we're really concerned about you. And so that's when it kind of became a little bit serious. And I then took the step to go and see a doctor and just get things checked and see what was going on.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's when he kind of so I got referred to a nutritionist at that point.
Okay.
And she was helping me along that journey. But yeah, again, I didn't see it sounds odd now that I know so much about mental health. But at that point, I didn't see it as a mental health issue.
That's interesting.
I just kind of brushed it off as, oh, this is just something that happened to me and I just need to get a hold of it. But I didn't see it as a mental health issue. I was just like, oh, this is just, I'm sure I'm not the only one who this happens to. And I just kind of took it within my stride. And I think that's when all this stuff then caught up with me in that Bali trip. Because I'd gone through all this change, you know, I'd moved from England to the other side of the world. I was still trying to find out what I was doing career-wise. I'd gone traveling. And on top of all that, I was, you know, dealing with all this weight and eating disorder stuff. So yeah, obviously now it makes sense as to why I had that panic attack. But, you know, I was still unsure why it was happening.
Yeah. And did they ever, like the nutritionist or the doctor ever suggested that you saw a psychologist at the time? Or they, you know, maybe they thought, you know, it would be a good idea. And maybe you said, you know, I don't think so, because the nutrition was helping you. The nutritionist was helping you. So you were kind of feeling like, you know, I'm getting better here, so I don't need any more help. Or
I think because they saw that I was willing to make the change, so they were just like, let's just see how you go. Because obviously they knew as well that I was traveling, and you know, they didn't want to refer me to someone to that, because I was moving around a lot. So that's why with this nutritionist, she was really good, because I could email her at any point and be like, hey, this is going on for me. But yeah, they were open. They said, like, once you're settled, let us know how you're going, and we can refer you on to people in that area in terms of nutrition.
Oh, perfect.
Things, whoever you need.
Okay, that's awesome.
But obviously telling them about the fact that I was doing well, and at that point I thought I was, and then obviously a year later is then when I had the panic attack. So yeah.
So when did you start? So you started going to the psychologist and presumably understanding more about yourself, like you're saying, and kind of catching yourself up, you know, with the triggers and you know, recognizing your thought patterns and things like that. How long do you think it took you to start feeling better and, you know, getting more, kind of being a little bit more in control of what was going on?
I'd say it took a good year or two. Definitely. It was not a quick journey. It was something that I had to consistently work on. Like, I remember I would go to work and still feel unwell. Like, every single day I would turn up to work and act like okay, but inside I was just struggling so much. To the point where I couldn't wait to go and like to see my psychologist and chat it out. At that point I still didn't feel like I could speak to many people about it, you know. So I would keep a lot of it inside day to day, and then wait until that psychologist appointment to be like, oh great, I can actually tell her like what's going on now. I remember sitting at my desk so many times and just feeling so unwell. But I would, you know, I feel like hopefully workplace culture has changed a little bit, where people do feel a little bit more like they can say, hey, I'm not doing well, and explain what's going on. But at that point in my life, I did not feel like I could speak to my manager about what was going on.
And this happened, was it before COVID? Because of course there is so much more.
Yes, it was before COVID.
Okay. Oh yeah. So okay, so you kind of felt like, kind of lonely. Was it a lonely journey, would you say? Because you couldn't really talk to anybody outside of, you know, your psychologist in a way.
Yeah, and obviously I had people around me, like I had my friends and I had my family, but because they'd not experienced it themselves, I think it was really hard to explain what was going on, and for them to understand what to say as well. Like, it must be, I know that it would be really hard for them to see me not being me, and not being myself anymore, and just changed this completely anxious person. And I know that, you know, both sides of things, I felt lonely, but they would have felt lonely as well and not sure how to help.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, I think lonely is definitely the word to describe.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who is at home and potentially, feeling that there is something that they, need to work through, or things are not going well for them, perhaps feeling already some physical signs? What are the things that um, would be helpful for them to do, right now that, you wish you would knew like before when you started your journey?
Yeah, I think definitely acknowledge if you know in yourself that something is not feeling right, you don't feel like yourself, sit with that and acknowledge it. Don't hide it.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from it. Like, actually acknowledge what is going on. And then the next step would definitely be to speak to someone about it. Anyone, like literally, it could be a friend, it could be a family, it could be you might
Yeah.
prefer to go and see someone external, you might prefer to go and see a doctor.
Yeah.
So yeah, just speak to someone about it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, work out, you know, your next steps. And I think the biggest thing with mental health is that if you've been feeling that way for a few weeks, like then definitely go and see someone. You know, if it's, you know, we all feel sad, we all feel anxious at times.
Yeah.
Doesn't instantly mean that there's something going on, but if it's a
Yeah.
feeling and it's really, like I say, affecting that day-to-day life like it did for me, then definitely that's when you need to go and see someone and get the support that you need. Luckily for me, I decided not to go down the medication route, and
Hmm.
I've managed to keep it that way, and just, like I say, work on all those things that I learned from the psychologist. So yeah, but obviously every journey is different,
Hmm.
and there's definitely, you know, don't feel ashamed for the decision that
Yes.
you make that makes you feel good. Like, at the end of the day, we
Yeah.
all want to go back to feeling our best selves, and that can look
Yeah.
different for anyone in terms of what you have to do to get there. But yeah,
I'm very
definitely.
interested about, you mentioned that you decided not to go down the medication route, and I think you're right. Some people might need the medication. That's totally fine. Nobody should be ashamed of that. But when you made that decision, what made you decide that? Like, did you think that it was something that you thought, I can make all of those changes, like, because it sounds like you're still very health conscious, potentially still go to the gym and things like that, which, exercise and mental health, there is a
Mhm.
lot of research that
Yeah,
shows that, of course. Yeah. So what made you decide that?
yeah, good question. I think, you know, and it was definitely an option for me. Like, it's not like I was
Yeah.
never offered it. It was definitely an option. But I think I was just really mindful that I wanted to do this myself, and I wanted to make sure that I could make the right decisions and see if I could change it just through mindset and just
Perfect.
the things that I was taught and empowered to use the tools, and to see if that would make the change that I
I can.
needed to go
Yeah.
forward. And then I was always like, I'm not against taking medication, but if I can avoid it and not rely on something to make me feel good, and I can do this all on my own,
That's
then that
incredible.
would be the best outcome for me. Um,
Incredible.
so I think I was
That's
just
awesome.
determined to do that, and to uh,
Yeah.
yeah, to show that
Amazing.
I could, yeah, to show myself that I could do it. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, like,
That's incredible. Like, that's very
thank you.
that is very powerful as well, because I think that there are implications when you take the medication, for sure. And if you, like I said, if you want to give yourself that time to see if you can do it, there is a lot of things that uh, everybody can do as well on a
Mm.
day-to-day basis. What would you say are the things that you are still doing every day, to keep on top of your mental health, that would be beneficial for somebody listening to this who
Yeah,
wants to take charge as you did, to do every day?
I think not putting so much pressure on myself. Like I used to put so much pressure on myself to be like amazing at everything, to have the career, to have this amazing you know, physical body and mind, and be the best, you know, person in terms of all my relationships, be the best sister, be the best daughter, be the best wife. And I think just to take a step back and be like, you don't have to, like, no one's telling you to do this. It's just you putting that pressure on yourself to achieve all these things, and actually kind of having a bit of a reset in terms of what does Hayley actually want to achieve in life? Like, what does she actually want to do without the pressure of thinking what everyone else wants her to do or what everyone else needs her to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So yeah, really kind of looking inwards and going, what do I actually want to achieve and do. And so yeah, a lot of mindset stuff, and I really love like learning about mindset. So that's something that has really helped me go forward, as well as definitely health and wellness. Like I say, it's still a big part of my life. And I do teach dance fitness, which is something that I love doing. I've loved dance since I was young. And just being able to teach other people and uplift other people, and also move my body, it just makes me feel really, really good. But again, not pushing it too far, like knowing my limit and knowing how many classes I do and want to teach, like not being like, oh, I can do this more, and keep pushing and pushing, knowing my limits with that as well. And what else? Just taking time out, just not feeling like I need to be busy every single minute of the day.
That's
I was always filling my time and being like, I need to be busy, I need to do this, I need to do that. But actually taking the time, like if I want to take, you know, a walk outside, I will go and do it. And if I don't want to have like a weekend filled with plans, I won't do it. I'll just actually take time to myself. And that's been life-changing, because I just
amazing.
Always used to want to be busy, but busy isn't.
I totally resonate with that too, like trying to fill up, you know, every minute of your day just creates an underlying overwhelm that you don't even realize, and then before you know, you can't go to sleep. You know, you waking up at night, like there is so many things that starts happening because you're just literally not allowing your mind to have a break, and your mind is constantly trying to catch up with everything that you've been doing, and it just can't, you know, it doesn't have a time to breathe, right?
Absolutely. And I think as well, like acknowledging that, like, that it's okay to not be happy every single day. Like I think for me, because I am such a bright and bubbly person, that if someone sees me, you know, not, you know, a little bit upset, it's kind of like, oh, is she okay? Because she can't be upset. Not Hayley. But I'm like actually acknowledging that sometimes you just are having a bad day for no particular reason. You just might be in a bit of a mood, and that's fine as well. Like you don't always be bright, bubbly, everything's going amazing. So acknowledging that having, you know, bad days is fine as well. Like if you want to stay in bed, you want to stay in bed, you want to watch Netflix and do what, you know, do what you need to do in that day, that's fine. Just make sure that you pick yourself up and carry on.
It's like I said, it's just the consistent, isn't it? Like if it becomes a consistent behavior, that it is a problem. But if it's not, you know, everybody has good days and bad days, right? I remember thinking that during chemo, you know, when I would have like a really bad day, I'll be like, you know what? Everybody has a bad day. I know I'm having a bad day because I'm going through chemo, but you know, it's okay to have a really bad day, you know? So I think what you said is really, really important as well. And did you find that, you know, eating healthily as well, you know, helps you as well, like your mental health state?
Yes, like obviously I am that type of person who is really into that. So for me, I know that food plays a lot of key roles in terms of my mental well-being. So I'm really conscious about what I'm eating and what makes me feel good and what makes me feel not so good. So I really listen to that as well in terms of yeah, just what I like to eat as well, and just being like, yeah, like some days like I might want to eat chocolate and that's cool, and then other days I might just want to eat things that are a little bit more nutritious and healthy, but you know, and
Mm-hmm.
again, like not getting stuck on that mind, like that hamster wheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like I am that type of person that likes to eat healthy anyway, so I know for a lot of people
Yeah.
it's a struggle, but yeah,
I know. And the only reason why I want to bring this up is because, there is scientific research that talks about, if you eat sugar, it affects your mental health. And, if you are trying to get on top of your mental health, that is something that can help and benefit people a lot as well.
yes,
But of course, like I said, you can't go the other way, and go crazy about it. But it's important to I think what you said is really, really powerful, because it sounds like you took and you knew that, oh, this is not going to be a 5 minutes job. I'm going to have to plug in lots of different things into my life to get myself back into kind of a new balance again. And you were prepared to do all of it, because it's not one thing, right? It's not just, turning up to the psychologist sessions, right? Like it's the day-to-day actions that you sorry
it's okay.
hear me now.
Yeah.
Sorry. So it's the day-to-day actions that you took every single day for the whole
Yes.
year, 2 years, and you still do, which is
Yes.
amazing. And I think that is a message that I always want to empower people to listen and to absorb, is that our journeys are similar in the way that I went through something quite physical that was quite challenging. It was a lot mental as well. I mean, the biggest struggle in the cancer journey, it is getting control of your thoughts, for
Yes.
sure,
Oh,
because you
imagine.
can't put up with the physical, suffering, the pain and the noises and all of that. But if you can't get hold of your mental state, it can go downhill really quickly.
I can imagine. Yeah, absolutely. And I think
But
that
I
is,
knew that I needed to do all of it every
yes.
single day and keep doing it,
Yeah. Yeah.
which it sounds like it's what you did, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like even to this day, like I say, it's not
Yeah,
gone away. It's not all of a sudden I'm just gone, oh, I'm not
that's it.
anxious anymore. Like
Yeah,
it's still definitely there. But it's how to deal with it and to spot the signs and the things that do bring it on. I'm becoming attuned to that, to listen, to be like, okay, if I'm taking on too much stuff, then I'm gonna start going down hill in terms of, my anxiety is
yeah.
going to heighten. So I know my limits in terms of what I can take on, um and I've just got to listen to that, and I've got to listen
Mm-hmm.
to my body and yeah, I can tell instantly if I'm feeling anxious now, and I'm like, hang on, what's happening? Why am I feeling like this? And I think that's so powerful to be able to
Mm-hmm.
spot those signs, because
Yeah.
obviously before I was so
No.
far removed from what was going on. So now I just feel like really empowered to know that I can now kind of change the way that I
Mm-hmm.
respond to my anxiety and go, hey, I know you're there.
Yeah.
I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm gonna go and like take care of myself,
Yeah.
and yeah, like whereas before I was letting it control every single part of my life.
Mm. I
So
think
yeah.
that's very, very powerful. I remember having a session with a client who had anxiety, and I said, you need to remind yourself every morning that you do have anxiety. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you need to do every single day. There are days that I don't want to get up to do my exercise or my meditation, and I remind myself, do you remember where you've been?
Yeah. Hmm.
Cancer recurrence is a big thing.
Yeah.
So I remind myself that, this is what I choose to do, and I don't
Yeah.
want to say I need to do, but this is what I choose to do. I choose to take control of my health in the
Yeah.
same way as you choose to take control, that little voice. Yeah. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for being here, but I'm not listening to you. I'm going to go and do something else.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the power of it is learning and constantly learning about it. And And I think that's why I'm so passionate about it now, whereas before I would never really speak about it I'd only speak about it to my closest friends. And
Yeah.
I think now the more that I've learned about mental health and mental illness, the more empowered I am to share my story and to do things like this, because I know how important it is. Going back to the Hayley at 21, you know, how important it would be if she had had someone's story like mine, and how that could have changed her view and perception of what she was going through. And, you know, maybe it would have made her journey a little bit easier. So that's why I'm sat here today and speaking about it, because I think, you never know who's listening, and you never know, how this can change someone and what they're going through.
That's powerful. Now, the last question is, you know, if you're speaking to that Hayley right now, you know, like somebody's listening at home and thinking, you know, I just don't even know where to start. Like, I feel like I've got a mountain to climb, right? I've got so many habits that I have to change, so many things that I've been doing that, you know, are not serving me. You know, I know that for me, I felt like that once upon a time, just like, oh my God, where do I even start? You know, what would you say to that person?
Yeah, I think take the pressure off and start with the very first step of like, okay, so like what is the mountain, and what is the repercussion of, you know, you taking a step back. If you take a step back, what would happen? What would happen if you asked your boss if you could, you know, have a bit of a leeway on that deadline that's looming? What would happen if you asked your partner to help you around the house? Of the small steps, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I think sometimes we're so like, we need to do everything ourselves and we can't ever ask anyone for help. Like, no, if you are struggling, go and ask someone for help. Like, I wish I'd have done that. Like, you know, in my jobs, I wish I'd have been like, hey, I'm struggling here, can I get some support? But I wouldn't. I would just be like, no, I need to do this, I need to prove myself, blah blah blah. And, you know, now I just feel good that I can ask people for help and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Would you mind helping me with this? And, you know, just not feeling like that's a bad thing to do. Like, we're all humans. We can only take on so much stuff and mental load. And if you are struggling, just ask for help. And like I say, take a step back and see where you could,
and I think,
make those changes.
Yeah, I think that what you said, like sometimes, you know, especially if you have this perfectionist tendency, you think that you've got to do everything by yourself. Take asking your, partner. My husband, he had to look after me, and he's from England as well, and all our family is overseas, so we were here by ourselves. And during chemo, he had to do everything. Look after me, look after the kids, cook, go to work, and everything. And I was dependent on him. I went from doing everything to being dependent on somebody. And like these days, and I realized this was my problem. If I ask my husband is amazing, and he's done an incredible job, and he's a much, much better at everything than I am, to be honest. And if I ask him, like, look, today I'm really tired, can you cook dinner, or can you just do this with the kids? He would happily, like, do it.
Yes.
But the issue is, like, you get into this thing in your head, which is just in your head sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not in anybody else's head.
No.
I know that it's not even that you're struggling. Like, it's a crazy thing that you've got in your head. Think like, I can't ask for help. I've got to do everything on my own, when you don't.
You don't. And I think that's definitely something that I've learned so much is, just to feel confident to be like, I'm struggling. Like, I'm genuinely not doing well at the moment, and I need XYZ, and not feeling ashamed to admit that, because I think this is a problem, right? We all go through life going, how are you? I'm fine. We're not actually saying, actually, I'm not good. Like, actually, I'm not doing okay. This is happening for me. Because we don't feel like confident in how we're feeling. We go, oh, but my life's not that bad. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Or I can't say to someone about my problems because they're going through something that's way bigger than what I'm going through. And it's that sense of comparison to, you know, oh, but my problems are not as bad as that, and I should be happy,
Mm-hmm.
be appreciative of, you know, what I've got and, you know, the life that I have. But it doesn't mean that, you know, just because you don't see your problems as huge and big and
Yes.
life-changing, that you can't speak to someone about it or you can't ask for help. Like, everyone needs help, like, no matter what is happening.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah, that's
that's,
very important.
yeah, because, you know, I still reflect and go, oh, but you know, it wasn't that bad what I was going through. You know, I can't believe that, you know, I had this long journey of anxiety, and you know, and even now, like, it's like, oh, who am I to share my story, because I know people who have gone through cancer and, you know, all these things.
Yeah,
But
that's
like,
no, yeah, yeah,
can't compare yourself to what everyone else is, you know, living through and
yeah,
going through. Like, your journey is still important, no matter how big or small you think it is.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the message, definitely.
Yeah, I think what you've done is absolutely incredible. I am very proud of you, and I think that you've done incredible, especially because you took charge. You made some, I can imagine some tough decisions at a time. You know, I can just imagine that thinking, you know, like, I think I can, you know, I don't want to take medication. I'm going to hold on to, you know, my habits and everything that I'm doing to see if I can work out by myself. You know, that in itself, it's massive. And again, there is no shame in taking medication, but I still, you know, think that what you've done, it's absolutely incredible, and you should be very, very proud. You should keep sharing your journey,
Thank you.
um, because there is so many people at home feeling alone, feeling that they can't share their journey because they either feel that they are weak, or, you know, they are not, they shouldn't be struggling, or they, you know, they shouldn't be going through any of this. And you know, mental health is, you know, when you talk about, like, you know, I shouldn't feel like this because somebody's going through cancer, like I said, this comparison is, you know, I might have struggled more if I had gone through the same thing as you did. You know, like, it's just, we are all given a particular thing in our life, a struggle, whatever you call, a mountain to climb, so we can evolve, I believe, as human beings. And the way that we react to it is what matters. And we are here to definitely learn from each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the more that we speak about it and the more that we normalize it, the more that we can all get the support that we need, and not feel ashamed, to do that, and to know that, like I say, you can be sitting on a beach in Bali and this can happen.
Yes.
And you know, it can literally happen, and it will change your life. But I like to think that I'm a better, stronger
Yes.
person now that I've gone through this. So yeah, I think, yeah, never feel ashamed, and yeah, always take that next step to get the support that you need is the biggest message that I can put out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Hayley.
you.
It's been amazing. I'll add your socials if people want to connect, and thank you so much. It really means a lot to me, and I can see there's a few people watching as well, that, you know, if people want to ask any questions, and, you know, can hop on and answer them, because I really think that, you know, the more we speak about it, like I said, um, you know, the more awareness, and making this as um, a normal thing that anybody can go through, because it is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thank
Hayley.
you.